Now that you've heard about a few different genetic studies, it's time to learn about the biggest one of them all, the Human Genome Project. Our bodies are always developing, growing taller, and sometimes wider. How this happens may seem like a mystery, but who we are is largely the result of our genetic inheritance. Recently, scientists around the world have been building on the work of Gregor Mendel, a 19th century priest from Central Europe who studied how plants pass on their genes. These scientists are working to create a blueprint of the human genetic code.
The Human Genome Project is the attempt to define the complete genetic code, the 3 billion letters that contain all the information about human heredity, from the keratin in your hair to the hemoglobin in your blood to the smell receptors in your nose. All that's written in the human genome, and we want to read it out so we know the parts list.
The search for a map of the human genetic code has become known in the United States as the Human Genome Project. Francis Collins is a scientist working on the Human Genome Project at the National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, Maryland.
DNA is this fundamentally interesting and important molecule. It does, after all, play the tune that the rest of biology dances to. If you want to think about it in musical terms, you could even say, well, DNA is the score, and we are reading the musical score for human beings, and that's pretty heady stuff.
To understand how genes work, it helps to know a bit about how the human machine is put together. The cells that make our muscles, organs, and other tissues are made up of proteins, fats and sugars, and DNA. Why do you think that DNA is an important part of our cells? DNA is a nucleoacid consisting of large molecules shaped like a double helix. It is made up of 4 nitrogen bases: adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. The arrangement of nitrogen bases as rungs of a spiraling ladder forms an individual's unique genetic code. The genetic code instructs the body to produce proteins that control height, hair and eye color, and other characteristics that make you who you are. Inside the nucleus or nerve center of the cell, specialized enzymes split the DNA ladder in two and read the code. The nitrogen bases on both sides of the DNA spiraling ladder are matched with corresponding bases on a molecule called messenger RNA. Messenger RNA copies the genetic code from the DNA in the nucleus, breaks off, and carries it into the cytoplasm. Once outside of the nucleus, messenger RNA attaches itself to a ribosome that reads the genetic code 3 letters at a time. Each 3 letters spell out the code for one amino acid. Another kind of RNA, called transfer RNA, carries amino acids to the ribosome where they are matched up with the 3-letter bases on the messenger RNA. Amino acids are added one at a time, like pearls on a string, as a protein gradually takes shape. The amino acids determine how that protein folds up, and that folded shape in turn helps to determine how the protein will work. Change just one amino acid, and you can change the shape of the whole protein, for better or worse. How do our parents' genes affect us? People, plants, and animals get 2 sets of genes from their parents, which appear on tiny structures called chromosomes. Every human has 46 chromosomes, 23 from the father and 23 from the mother. Cataloging the order in which 4 different kinds of nitrogen bases are arranged on a set of 46 chromosomes seems easy, but that's just one cell, and there are many, many bases within each chromosome. Independent researchers have mapped large portions of the human genome, but much of the work is incomplete. The scientists working on the Human Genome Project have to take trillions of cells into account in order to map the entire human genetic code. Though the amount of time and effort needed to create a blueprint of the human genome may make the project seem impossible, many scientists and doctors around the world agree that it would benefit the entire human race. How would a blueprint of one person's genes give information about everyone's genetic inheritance?
Our DNA sequence is mostly the same, one to the other. And by studying the 99.9% of it that we all share, we learn a lot about the basic processes of human biology, things about development and how you go from being a single-celled embryo to being this incredibly complicated organism with 100 trillion cells and all sorts of different tissues and properties. That's pretty amazing. But by studying the part where we differ, we also are learning why it is that some people are at risk for some diseases and others for other disorders. And very soon, certainly in a matter of 10 years, we should be able to offer people the chance to find out what their risks are. And perhaps another 10 years after that, a whole generation of new therapies for disease will arise out of this information.
Scientist Lee Silver foresees the day when a computer program can interpret the DNA in human embryos and easily identify flaws. It could scan for serious genetic diseases. Scientists could also scan for traits that are more likely to be protective, such as resistance to cancer or Alzheimer's disease. They could scan for other kinds of traits as well.
Parents will be able to choose which combination of genes they would like to see in their child. I really believe that the point will be reached when they'll actually be able to see a picture on a computer screen of what the child would look like if this embryo is allowed to become a child.
But not all scientists agree on how far genetic experiments on humans should go. Some suggest that playing God may have terrible consequences for humanity.
How would you actually go in and make that change without being absolutely sure that something hadn't gone wrong and you'd actually changed a few other places in the genome at the same moment without meaning to? We have no technologies that are that kind of surgical correction of a single letter in the DNA code. We're not close to that. And even if you could do that, what's to say that we won't discover in some future environmental circumstance that change is actually bad for you in some environments. Maybe it helps out if you happen to live in Italy at the present time, eating the diet that they're eating. But maybe in some other circumstance, that variant would turn out to predispose you to Alzheimer's disease or diabetes. We don't know that.
Mapping the human genome could enable humans to live healthier and happier lives, free from life-threatening diseases like cancer, diabetes, and Alzheimer's. As scientists wrestle with the technology, we should consider if it might do more damage than good.